Ready? Chapter 14. Missing. Keon opened his eyes and sat up straight. He seemed to have fallen asleep leaning on Aino. No sleep this night either? He asked her. Told you, I don't need to sleep. But it was nice to have you leaning on me. She smiled at him. He scratched his head in embarrassment. Sorry about that. No need to apologize. Having you close puts my mind at ease. You're different from them. You're demons. You overcame them. She looked at the mages around her. They live with them every day, and it eats at them, at their hearts. I don't know if I overcame my demons. I just think mine are a lot less sinister than theirs. Keon looked down on the ground. Aino turned her head towards him. You're a good person, Keon. It's time you realized that too. Why don't you talk to me in that same warm tone as you do with him? Juha had apparently woken up from his sleep on one of the logs around yesterday's campfire. He looked at Aino with a grumpy face. Because I like him, she answered calmly. So you don't like me, is that it? He stared at her. Keon looked back and forth between them. Nothing but silence. He felt increasingly uncomfortable. Was she not going to say anything? I think what Aino means. Correct. Aino cut off Keon mid-sentence. I knew it! Juha stood up. It's because of that day the assassins attacked us, isn't it? I didn't shield you from the arrows. I knew I messed up with that one. I should have protected you with my life! He sounded very emotional. No, I don't need a bodyguard, Aino answered in return. Then why? What did I do? Juha asked with his voice raised. Aino looked right at him. I'm not here to become your friend. I don't want your loyalty. I don't need your care. Go suck up to someone who cares. Juha went silent. He felt like he was falling. The one who saved Ayla and Niila with her own blood. The one Ayla had told him never had said one bad word to her. His creator, who was supposed to be the epitome of kindness and strength. The woman he had always dreamed of meeting, getting to one day to thank in person for the greatest gift of all. She had made him into the person he had always strived to be. He sat down on the log and stared at the ground with a blank expression. Tove and Banke had also woken up during the whole thing, and they both looked flabbergasted. Juha clenched his fists. The anger flared up within him. He needed to get away before it took it out on someone else. He stood up and walked towards the nearby forest. Banke and Tove kept their eyes on him as he disappeared into the forest. I blame Ayla for this. She told him all those glorified stories of a past she herself hardly remembers. He was only a child back then. Of course he believed every word. It's never easy when we realize our childhood heroes aren't the ones we thought. Tove turned his head and looked at Aino. I'm just a freak of nature. There is nothing to glorify about me, she replied. Suddenly a loud roar was heard from inside the forest, with loud crashing sounds to follow. He's raging. Better to just let him go at it until he feels better. Banke shrugged. Well, I'm not going to try and stop him. I'm not suicidal, Tove responded. What happened to you? Grimme cried out. Where is the entry hole? Where is your wound? He pulled up Leah's shirt, only to reveal the perfectly unharmed stomach of the second lieutenant. No wound, nothing to show that she just yesterday had a sword pierce right through her. Leah tugged at her shirt, trying to get Grimme to let go of it. I guess I just healed during the night, she answered flustered. No, not even mages heal this fast, and we sure don't heal like there was no wound to begin with. Grimme shook his head, still holding on to the shirt, while trying to further examine Leah's stomach. Well, I don't know. I'm not the doctor here, you are. She was desperately trying to pull down her shirt as more and more people were looking their way. Another officer came up to them. My wound is gone too. He showed his unharmed arm to Grimme. Finally, the captain let go of Leah's shirt as he turned his attention to the other officer beside them. Leah quickly pulled it down. Great, everyone was staring at her now. She wanted to sink through the ground. Keon looked over at Atle. He seemed perfectly fine as well, chatting away with his officers, as if he had no problems with his lungs to begin with. This seemed so much like the work of Aino. The officers had healed in the same way she had healed him the first time they met. He opened his mouth to ask her, but before he even began, she turned to him and put her finger over her mouth. Shh. Don't tell me you've started to care for them? He asked her. Wounded soldiers would only slow us down, Aino responded. If you say so. As Aino once again was climbing up on Keon's back, Yua passed by them. He carefully avoided eye contact with them. We're leaving. His loud voice reached everybody around the camp as they all prepared for the trip to the next one. I had to do it like this. I'm about to take everything away from him. When I do, he can't see me as his god. It would destroy him, Aino quietly whispered to Keon. He took her hand and squeezed it. She was trying to keep her distance, but it was obvious she was starting to care about them. Keon looked down at his feet. The road was turning into mud and it was raining. He noticed the gloomy faces of the officers around him. Not the best weather to travel in, but it seemed to fit the mood. Tyr, on the other hand, seemed even more cheery than usual. Do you have any berries? Keon asked him carefully. He hadn't eaten any breakfast and was starting to get really hungry. Of course! Tyr reached down his pocket and gave Keon a handful of freshly picked gooseberries. Thank you. Keon shoved them all into his mouth. No need to feel hungry with the colonel around. I can see why our creator likes you. You've got excellent taste. Tyr nodded happily at his own conclusion. Fucking berries, Atle muttered, almost inaudible next to them. We should see the camp soon, Tyr announced to the wet and tired officers. They had been walking in constant downpour for the past hour, and no one was happy about it. Where are they? Atle looked around. They had reached the camp, but there wasn't a single mage there to greet them. The ground was completely trampled. Tyr started running around with a worried expression on his face. Where was she? Where was Major General Lisa? Aino closed her eyes and focused. She could definitely feel another additional 5 mages close by. Underground. They were underground. She opened her eyes again. None of the other officers seemed to be able to feel the other mages. They were all running around aimlessly in different directions. Could they only feel her, not each other? Is there any bunker around here? Aino raised her voice so that the officers could hear her. They all stopped in their tracks. Ah! Maybe they're in a bunker. Smart thinking! Tyr shouted as he changed his direction of running. Found one! One of the officers called out. Tyr came rushing past everyone and pushed the officer aside who had just opened the entrance. Isa, are you in there? He screamed into the bunker. A few seconds of silence passed and then, Tyr! A huge woman came up from the bunker, throwing herself in the arms of the ecstatic colonel. She had her hair swirled up in a bun on top of her head, making her already large stature appear even taller. She turned her head and looked over at Aino and Keon. And our creator is here with a friend! She let go of Tyr and ran over to Keon and Aino and embraced them in one giant hug. You are both so welcome here, and oh my, you are so small, just like Edda. She let go of them and turned her attention to the other 2 generals of her army. They in turn looked back at her with dread. She was supposed to bow to their creator, not hug her. You know, when I first saw you, Atle, I thought you were the stiffest person I had ever met. That was until I had met Edda, of course. She gave them both a giant smile. You're so cute with your looks of disapproval. Like you actually think I care. She pinched their cheeks. Edda froze and her right eye started twitching uncontrollably. Knock it off! Atle slapped Disa's hand away from him. She looked at him challengingly as the rest of the officers emerged from the bunker. Teal walked up to them, oblivious to the tension between the generals. "Why were you all hiding in the bunker?" he asked curiously. Lisa broke her eye contact with the lieutenant general and looked at the colonel. "We had to. The ruler seems to have made this his pathway on which his soldiers run for practice. They did it for the first time yesterday. We barely dodged them then, and now they came back again today. Thousands of them running past us in just a few minutes. If you hadn't come today, we would have moved our camp. We were thinking about joining up with Tula's camp in the north. We were only 5 officers here before you all came along. Despite being blood mages, we wouldn't stand a chance with those numbers." Teal put his arm around Lisa. "Well, dear cousin, I, for one, am happy you are safe." He let go of her and wrinkled his forehead. "What happened to your cloak?" "What do you mean?" "It's all crooked and—" Teal pointed to the back of it. "Are those supposed to be general stars?" They all leaned over to look at Lisa's cloak. It kind of looks like potatoes." Atle chuckled a bit. "I made it myself," she said quietly. "We are all supposed to know how to make our cloaks and stars. It's one of the most important tests of sewing class as a cadet." "How did you pass?" Teal tried to make eye contact with Lisa, but she was avoiding it the best she could. His eyes narrowed. "You cheated, didn't you?" Still no response from the Major General, who turned her head as far from the Colonel as she could. Teal walked around her. "Well, this is what happens when you cheat. You end up looking like a fool. Sewing is hard, okay? Plus it's boring." Lisa finally met her cousin's gaze. "It's not hard, nor is it boring. You just have to practice. The problem with you is that you think shortcuts are the solution to everything." He flicked her on the forehead. "Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Perfect Score on every test," Lisa said in a mocking tone. "That's what happens when you work hard instead of being lazy." At this point they were having a staring contest with each other. A voice was heard beside them. "So, did you find any alcohol in the bunker?" Joa and Banke seemed to have popped out of nowhere. Joa looked wishfully at Lisa. She broke eye contact with her cousin and turned to the Lieutenant General instead. "We didn't look for it, but it's a bunker with several rooms, so we can go back and check." Lisa, Joa, Atle and Teal all walked back towards the bunker. Keon turned towards Banke and Edda. "You're not coming?" he asked. "Nah, I'm good. If Joa finds any alcohol, I'm sure I'll hear it all the way from here." Banke laughed. "No," Edda said as chilly as ever. As Keon carried Aino towards the bunker, he looked back towards Banke and Edda. "Isn't it a bit odd how similar their background stories are?" Aino looked back as well. "It's almost like they're staying back on purpose to talk to each other. The whole thing is a bit odd indeed."